is the one affirmation that I'm going to give you in this video that literally helped me move into the more abundance consciousness, attracting more wealth. Because if I look back from like 5 years down the road, or even not just the 5 years, 2 years down the road, even the 1 year, few couple of the months down the road, the things have changed drastically in my abundance department, in my attracting money department. And before that, I was attracting money and I was manifesting money and all that stuff. But there was like a deep fear inside of me. What if the business will going to fail? What if sales not gonna happen? What if this gonna happen? What if that gonna happen and that's not gonna give me the money, or I'm not gonna be able to attract the money that I deserve or desire, whatever. Like there was like a fear. There was like a fear inside of me, and the fear of not having enough money, the fear of running bankruptcy, the fear of what if the things didn't work out, the fear of I didn't get a job, or fear of this and that, and what if I'm not going to get the money, what if I'm not able to survive, or whatever. And in the past week or so, I have been actually transcend that fear so much. Before that, I was trying to do the different techniques, strategies, methods, but underlying fear was always there. So today I'm gonna actually give you one affirmation as well that helped me, and also I'm gonna give you how I actually come out of that fear altogether. The first and foremost thing that you got to do whenever you have a fear about something, an insecurity or a doubt and a question, sit with that feeling. And I know it's very uncomfortable feeling. You don't want to sit with that. You want to distract yourself. But I want to tell you, the more you distract yourself with that feeling, the more you're not going to see that feeling on the surface, and then you won't be able to do anything with that. So just see that feeling, that emotions, that thought, whatever it is that making you feel uncomfortable, that's fearful, stressful, insecurity, anxiety, whatever it is, just sit with this feeling. And for me, the fear was of money. It was like, what if the sales didn't happen? What if my business won't work out? What if this and that? And I was like, okay, you know what? Now is the time to come to sit with this feeling of fear, this feeling of doubt, this feeling of confusion. And I sit with that feeling and I'm like, what the heck is going to happen if nothing work out? What is going to happen if the money doesn't come? And I literally sit with that fear. And then I realized that this fear is not even real. Because this fear was actually based on my past experiences. Now, I never been bankrupt. It's not my past experience. It's actually based on my family members' past experience that they have fed inside of me. And I take it from them subconsciously when I was a kid and a teenager. And that thing creating the fear, I go deep down and understand is actually not my fear. It's created by somebody else, and they actually feed inside of me. It's my family member, one of my family member fear, and that actually come with me when I was a kid and a teenager in the effort of like they loved me and they helped me grow up and raise me, and they give this fear subconsciously. And I get this fear, and then I understand it's not my fear at all. It's their fear. It's their experience. I've never been a time in my life when I never had money. Whether I manifested the money through my business, through the job, through the side hustles, through other people, through my partner, through my parents, through the gifts, rewards, coupons. Like I always manifested money. Always, always, always. And sometimes the money showed to me that I couldn't even imagine. That like I was like, wow, how this money comes into my bank account? How this money show up? And I look at the source and I didn't even recognize the source because I don't even know this source, and somehow the money was given to me. So it happened with me so many times that I manifested the money out of the blue, and small, big, all the different sizes and shapes of the money, not shape, size of the money shows up. So actually that fear was not my fear. But when I sit with that fear, I realize that this uncomfortable feeling is not mine. It's somebody else, and they put inside of me. And that's actually from my past listening, from my past experiences that they told me, that they given me. It's taken from somebody else. And then I realized that it's not actually real. The fear is not even real. The insecurity, the doubt, the question, these are not even real, because these are based on your past memories, whether you have experienced it or somebody else experienced it and you have seen that experiencing for them, and then you take in information from them, and then you project that thing onto the future, and based on that you feel insecure, you feel anxious, you feel fearful based on that. And that fear was coming from the other person. It wasn't my fear at all. So when I realized that, and I realized that it's not even real, it's not even my fear, because if I look back in my past, there never have been the time when I never have the money. I always have the money. Somehow money always shows up. So then I actually able to disintegrate and debunk and see that this is not my story, it's their story, okay? And I'm not even equal to the story at all. And the more I see that, the more I realize that there is no fear at all. Because then I realize that having money is your birthright. Having oxygen, water, food, clothes, shelter, money, relationships, lover, job, career, like all these basic necessities is your birthright. So money, having money is a birthright. In fact, not just barely surviving, thriving, like being rich is the birthright. And the more I sit in with this feeling, the more I sit in with this thought, with this one sentence, the more I realize that first, this fear is not mine at all. And secondly, this is the truth that money is my birthright. So money is going to show up anyway. And then I look back in the past when the money shows up in my life without me even realizing it, without me even expecting that's kind of money that's going to come from that particular source, because I wasn't even aware of it. And money shows up. And then I realize, okay, for me, the money always shows up. Always money shows up. And it happened in the past. So I use the evidence from the past, the positive evidence from my past, and I use that and put that in front of the fear. And then I also use that the money is my birthright, all these things is my birthright, having being rich is my birthright. I put all those things as an evidence in front of the fear, then the fear is gone naturally. The another way I deal with it is like, okay, what's the worst could happen? Like something this I always ask myself whenever I take the huge risk or huge step or I jump quantum leap. I ask myself what the worst could happen. What the worst could happen? I mean, the fear of money, I'm not going to have money. So what the worst could happen? I'm not going to be able to have a shelter, not going to be able to have food, clothes, whatever that's going to be happening, right? But that's never going to happen. I mean, that's the worst case scenario, but that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. Like sometimes the worst case scenario, people prepare for the worst case scenario, but you didn't even realize that those things never happen. So they're never going to be the time that I'm never going to have shelter or never going to have food or clothes or something like that. Like the basic, bare basic necessity that every human needs. And then that I go to the like what the worst could happen, then I realize that, okay, if I don't have a shelter, I can go to the beach. I can go to the mountain and stay in the tent. I can take the fruits from the trees, from the plants, and I can eat the nature food because I'm a vegetarian, more like a vegan. So I love fruits and vegetables more than meat. I don't eat meat. So for me, it's comfortable to take the fruits and vegetables from the plants and from the trees and eat it. So I was like, okay, if we don't have money, we can go to the camping in the riverside, in the countryside. I mean, of course, I'm in the countryside, in the island, wherever I can go and stay there on the beach or stay there in the mountain, and I get the fruits and vegetables from the plants. So I have a shelter, stay in the tent, get the fruits, vegetables, so my basic necessities met, and I can live like that my whole life. And I literally go to the worst case scenario and I was like, you know what? I can live like the life like that. I don't care. I don't care at all. Now, personally, I'm comfortable with any situation. I used to be the person who was like, I cannot live in the tent. I cannot do a camping or something like that. But now I'm a person right now that I'm so freaking comfortable with any kind of situation because I know that things are always working out for me, because I know there's always, universe helps me. Like, my underneath belief inside of like, oh, above all these fears, the very deep feeling, the very deep belief that I have is that I'm always taken care of. Somehow the things always work out for me. Like I have this very deep belief inside of me, regardless of my fear, regardless of the insecurity, doubt or question. So I was like, you know what? This is the worst case scenario. We can live in the tent. We can eat the fruits and vegetables and I can do that whole life. I know it's not going to happen anyway. But I can live like that whole life. The moment I feel that fear, and I was like, wow, And then I realized that there is a big relief off from my shoulder, because now there is no fear at all, because I imagine the worst case scenario and I can live my life like that. I have no problem with that. Seriously, I love nature. I love being in the nature, and I love to be part of the nature, because I am the part of nature and I love to live in the nature rather than the big apartments or whatever. So I'm very ground to earth for that case. So for me, there is no problem. I can live in the camp, I can live in the tent, and I can eat the fruits and vegetables taken from the plants and trees. That would be way more natural for me, way more healthy for me. I know that. I feel it. Okay. I don't know what's true for you, but it's true for me. I feel it. So I imagine the worst case scenario, and the moment I imagine it, the not fear of what if things not gonna work out goes away. And there was like this shift, it goes away, and I feel a lot of the burden get out of the shoulder. I feel like there is a relief in my vibration, there is a relief that I was feeling internally, like as if I taken a lot of the weight off my shoulder. And the affirmation that I talk to you is that the affirmation that I started using is that I always have money, I always have more than enough money, the money always shows up. Now I use the affirmations, very different affirmations, but one of the most common affirmation I use, that I always have money and I always have more than enough money. This is the affirmation, is a game changer. I always use it regardless of the 3D situation, regardless of what's happening outside of me. I always use this affirmation. Money always shows up. So there never been a time that I never have money for my basic necessities, or not just the basic necessity, but for the other stuff, for getting my hair colored, going to the spa, salon, massage, shopping. I always have it. I always have it. So I don't care. So hopefully this video will going to help you dealing with the fear of money and how I deal with it. Let me know if it helps you. Comment down, give it thumbs up, consider subscribing. Don't forget to check out, I have a short mini course talking about manifesting, attracting abundance by doing what you love. Thank you so much for tuning this video. See you the next time. Bye bye.